I would like to acknowledge that this video is being filmed on the traditional lands of the Wurrundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander or First Nations people who may be watching this video today. Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner and welcome back to my channel. Today I have a 5 books I would like to reread before the end of the year video, and these are specifically not romance books or not straight romance books because they are books that I actually have physically owned. I have read them in my booktube history, but they were all read for the most part prior to predominantly shifting into reading romance. So I would like to revisit them because they're favourites. And I haven't read them in a long time. And by long time, I think the last one I read was maybe a year and a half ago. I like rereading books, so we're just going to go with it. Well, before I read romance, I was talking about young adult books here on the channel, and I still like to read young adult titles, but I also like to prioritise Australian young adult titles. And one book that I really desperately want to reread is Catching Tellecrow by Amberlynn Quay-Mulliner and Ezekiel Quay-Mulliner, who are siblings. This is a dual narrative and verse novel. Both authors are Aboriginal from the Pilbara region in Western Australia. They have worked together on children's picture books and other writing projects. This was the first time I'd read them both together in a young adult novel. I had read Amberlynn Quay-Mulliner's The Interrogation of a Charlotte Wolfe prior to reading this, but this is super short. I adored this. This is a mystery. It is a bit of a ghost story, and Beth Teller has died. She is a ghost and she is following her father, who is a police detective, and they are investigating a fire, I think in a small country town, for memory. The reason I want to reread it is because I can't remember the details. I remember it being so atmospheric and so well done, and I'm just so eager to get back to it. Next up is an Australian new adult title. This does have a romance in it. It is No Limits by Ellie Marnie. This was a spin-off of her Sherlock Holmes retelling young adult series that starts with Every Breath, but I really loved No Limits when I read it. The main character, Harris Derwent, in this is a side character in the previous series, and so we get his story, and I mean, look, the last time I read this, I tabbed it up and I absolutely loved it. And I am very eager to get back to it because I actually can't remember much of the details because it's been years since I picked it up. This was also, I think, Ellie Marnie's first independently published book. I don't know if she's actually independently published anything else. I remember when it was released, I went to the release, I've had it signed, and I'm very eager. All right, then moving into some adult titles. I really want to reread The Lost Man by Jane Harper. I have reread The Dry before and I love that series. The Dry is one of my favorite books, but I also remember thinking that The Lost Man was as good or better than The Dry, but I haven't reread it, and so I really want to do that. The next book in the Aaron Falk series, which is The Dry, Force of Nature. There's a third book coming out later this year, but Jane Harper just writes the best Australian mystery stories that are deeply atmospheric. Australia is a huge character in these books. If you want to know what it is like to live in certain parts of Australia, pick up a Jane Harper book. She just is a magnificent writer. No romance in the books. That's fine because her writing is incredible. I also want to reread Into the Drowning Deep by Myra Grant. This is Seanan Maguire's other pen name, and this is a horror story set at sea, which is honestly the scariest thing I can think of. You have killer mermaids in this book. That's basically all I remember about it, aside from it having a really great diverse queer cast as well. But killer mermaids. I want to reread it, but I'm probably going to need to save this for when I have some time to sit down and possibly not read it at nighttime. And then the final book on this list is I really desperately want to reread The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. I was actually talking about someone last night, the night before I was filming this video, and I was talking to, it was a friend, and I was talking to her partner about sci-fi books that we both had in common, and she's not a sci-fi reader, but I did turn to her and say, I think you would actually really like this book because it is about characters, it is about found family, it is about the diversity of life that exists. While it's not hugely plot driven, it is just gorgeous. And ever since I read the 4th book in the series, I've just been like, Becky Chambers, I love her. I love her. I love her books. And for those of you who are relatively new to my channel, I am a huge sci-fi fan. I always have been. And while I don't read as many sci-fi books now, it's mostly because I have particular tastes in sci-fi. And this is right up there as one of the books that I thoroughly adore. So those are my 5 books that I am planning on picking up and rereading sometime in the next 6 months. Obviously, I'm just going to try and pick them up whenever. I'm not going to try and cram into any particular time. But I feel like I can possibly achieve this before the end of the year because I read a lot and I'm very, very motivated to pick these up. In the comments, I would love to know if you are a rereader and if there's anything you are planning on rereading before the end of the year, please let me know down below. Otherwise, feel free to leave a planet emoji down below. If you like this content, feel free to like and subscribe. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you're in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I will see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everyone.